If you need the water, check the beaches in the Carolinas. If you need the mountains, try the Appalachian Trail. If you need the redwood trees, gotta go to Yosemite. If you need me, 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 I'll be in Kansas City.
Welcome to Kansas City Limits Radio. We're joined today with the Free Rent Band. I'm Robert Bierce. I'm your host and a guest, and we'll talk more about that here in a second. But before we get into it, we want to thank all of our sponsors that help make this programming available, and you can find us at Kansas City Limits. We want to thank Kansas City RVs, voted the #1 RV dealership in Kansas City by the Kansas City Star for this year, 2023. Check out Kansas City RVs. Area Musicians Promotional Resource, AMPR. Black Moon Media, they're our partner, our television editing partner for Kansas City Limits TV. We want to thank Briarcliff Business Partner Alliance, a networking group since 2009, and we want to invite you to come to Briarfest 8, September 8th and 9th, a free-to-attend festival at Mackin Park. We want to thank Kansas City Knuckleheads. We want to thank Mary and Frank and their whole team down there for helping us. We want to thank Soundworks Recording Studio right here in Blue Springs, Summit Video, S&S Printing, B4 Productions, Midwest Music Foundation. Thanks to all of our sponsors helping making this programming available, and thanks, Free Rent, for stopping by and seeing us.
Hey.
Alrighty.
Now, our co-host, J.E. Cornwell.
Welcome to the show, fellas. The Free Rent Band. My co-host, Robert Bierce, is a member of this band. Why don't we start with you, Steve, and tell us name and what you do with the band.
Well, I'm Steve Smithers, and I'm one of the 2 guitar players in the band.
3. Hal?
Well, yeah, Hal plays guitar too, but 3 guitar players.
Right. The mainstay. Yes.
I also play bass. Me and Hal switch off.
Right? I've seen that.
Does a little singing.
Does some singing.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit of singing.
And you get
not
to
much.
stand next to Michelle, too, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, I brought her into the band for
Benefit.
specific reasons.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm Brian St. John. I'm the lead guitar player. I don't do any singing or anything else, just play lead guitar.
And you do it well.
Well, thank you.
I'm Hal Kaysen, play bass guitar mainly, play a little bit of guitar, and do a little bit of singing as well.
And what do you do, Robert?
I have no idea.
You just
Bellowing.
You just haul all the equipment around?
I do. No, they let me be in the band if I haul their stuff. Just singing and writing lyrics and trying to keep everything in motion since 2004.
You do a lot of the gigs.
Baby.
You get the you market this band very well.
I shake some hands and meet some people. There's a lot of good people out there that want to help you. There's a lot of people that don't know you yet. Yeah.
Well, you're doing it well. You've got a lot of gigs coming up.
This will probably be our most packed month. September's got 4 shows for us, and the exciting part about it is we're going to have something every week going on that really is going to be us playing.
Well, of course, my biggest show that I want to see you guys at is going to be, of course, the Kansas City Limit Show on August the 22nd at Knuckleheads KC. We're very excited to get you guys back on that stage. In fact, the last time I saw you, you were on that stage. So we usually have that show in the Gospel Lounge. Hal's been to one. I don't know. Have you guys seen one of the shows before?
They've been out to Abdullah.
Oh, well, so
Abdullah.
most of them are in the Gospel Lounge.
Small.
And yeah, they're quaint.
Intimate.
And but for 2 reasons. Number one, you guys have a plethora of musicians on the stage, and also your ticket count is already surpassed the last 2 that we had combined. So
awesome.
that
great.
means we're going to have to, I think the saloon comfortably, without packing them in there, I think they've actually got seats for butts for about 75 or 80, maybe.
Yes, 75 to 80.
And
without rolling open the doors.
Yeah. And I think when we move the chairs out of the gospel lounge, we're less than 60. So, but you guys know at Nux, we've got a whole dance floor there in front. So our film crew can, get on top of you. And we did Stonecutters there, remember? And
oh yeah, I remember.
They had 6 guys on stage. But fortunately, we've gotten a little better at filming these shows. And so we've got Adam and Angela with Black Moon Media and Jack Root, our film crew. So we've got 3 cameras. Adam's usually on the center camera. Jack is on usually the corner or the side view kind of. And then Angela's on the gimbal. And then we have 2 GoPros on the stage. So we'll probably put a GoPro on Larry, the drummer, with you guys. And then we'll probably put another one that kind of, center stage. Then we do. So we have 6 shots that we'll have for your band.
Are you gonna have drones flying around?
We do have a drone flying around. Yes. So that's
and one of the GoPros will strap to Steven's head.
that may be R-rated.
Yeah, you don't want to.
I'm excited for it because we haven't had we just got a new GoPro. We've always had Angela's iPhone, and she sets it up on a just kind of for B-roll type stuff. But this will be the first time we get to have all these views for you guys to do what you want to do on stage, so we can capture it all.
Well, we want to be as high tech as possible.
Yeah. It's going to be nice.
It will be.
It's a great opportunity. And I appreciate, when you asked us, or asked me, would we be interested? Because no one's given us this opportunity before.
Well, I mean, I knew Robert and this band. I knew Hal before I knew Robert, but I knew this band, and I'd seen you before. And long before you ever came onto this radio show as our co-host, the motions had been placed and put in motion, or the plans have been put in motion. We did the entire schedule for Kansas City Limits by the 1st of April. So we had 3 pilot episodes that we featured. And then at the end of April, we had the entire schedule. That's 2 shows every month, with the exception of in September. We got an opportunity to, we had a Brandon Miller scheduled, and it fell out towards the end of the year, but we got him back in the middle, so we'll have 3 shows in September. But anyway, the point is we got the opportunity to feature you guys in this show. And, some of the other parts of that were you and I, as we have discussed on this show many times. We work for the live music scene in this town, and whatever we can do. You've done a great job with putting Briarfest together, and which will feature Free Rent Band on Saturday 4.
I think we're on 5.
At 5.
5 on the main stage.
And so, I mean, we're trying to do whatever we can to get the names of a lot of these bands out, but
it's going to be a great lineup. Lots of great bands that are all helping each other.
And I mean, deservingly so. I mean, you get on Kansas City Limits, you get on Briarfest. I mean, there's a reason why you're playing with bands like, or with players like these guys here. You guys are, and as far as having people that come through these, come through here and we get to visit with, some of them are well known, some of them are not. However, we have the privilege to know you and these guys a little more than, say, some of the others. And one thing I will tell you, though, is this is right out of the mouth of Frank Hicks, the owner at Knuckleheads. He likes the Free Rent Band for lots of reasons. Obviously he likes Robert, but he likes the fact that you guys come in and play original music, right? You can only imagine in Frank's 22 years of the same cover songs that he has heard over and over. I mean, he doesn't have to ever relive the 80s because they're in his place all the time. So I think that is should be a feather in your hat. You guys got him to back you like that.
He's been the best to me. He really has. He's been to the best to me for, you know, I've been fucked off so many times and blown off and picked last and left for dead. That is the real reason why we're still kicking ass. And Frank also sees that too. He sees that the pursuit of having 1% of the planet like you over some songs you can write, in my head, is a real doable thing. It's a real possible thing, but it can't happen unless other people help you do it. And he's been crucial and instrumental in helping us take the stage. He was gone the very first time we ever played there, which was November of 2017 or 2021. We played there, and we played with Outlaw Jim. And it was the original structure of the Free Rent Band. Hal was the only guy in that band. And he was gone. I come up later on, a couple of weeks later, and asked him, I said, did you hear about the show? And he says, well, whoever you guys had, they drink a lot. So, you know, he hadn't ever heard us. And so I said, you didn't hear any music? He goes, no, but, you know, you a lot of people like your beer, you know. So that was kind of the beginning of a friendship with him. And then when COVID hit, he was instrumental with the festival, with Briarfest. I had already paid some deposits to some bands, and I really didn't have the confidence that I was going to be able to pull off the full festival in its entirety right after the first veil of COVID had been kind of lifted. And so I called him and I said, I've got about $1,500 in deposits for bands. I'm going to go ahead and let them keep the money. Do you want to utilize them down here at Knuckleheads because you're getting ready to do a relaunch? He said, what's the dates? And I said, it's June 12th and 13th. And he goes, who are the bands? I told him the bands. He goes, well, you can just have my complex. You can just have the place. I said, really? He goes, yeah, you can have my staff and everybody. He said, but I keep all the beer sales. So he let us put together a Briarfest. That was Briarfest 6. And we raised $10,300 from Mimi's Pantry that year in COVID.
Nice.
Which went well. And then Briarfest 6, you know, everyone in the entire world opened the same weekend we did. And so we wanted to bring it back to a park and make it free. And so that's what's going on Briarfest September 8th and 9th with the Free Rent Band. It's going to be a lot of fun. Money benefits Midwest Music Foundation, which is part of the reason why all these bands have gotten involved.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
That's how I pulled the trigger on a lot of the ones I got involved. Okay. So I know Hal back in the old Power Sport days. Actually, I took over the desk that he had there for years at Shawnee Cycle Plaza. Barry Bunter, hell of a guy, had it for 32 years, I think, before he sold out to Gale.
Yes.
And so until Hal crashed and burned and they needed somebody to come in and spin the paper.
He ran out of talent on his motorcycle.
So, but you've been playing music a long time, haven't you?
I started when I was about 12 years old. Yeah. Of course, I grew up when the Beatles were going strong, and
Sure.
I mean, when you was my age.
I know this story, and I think the listeners would find this as a good story too. And you were drafted into Vietnam.
Well, I actually, when I graduated high school, if you had 2 arms and 2 legs, you were gone in the service. You were going to be drafted as soon as you got out of high school. So I actually wanted to join because my neighbor down the street was a professional drag racer, and I hung around his garage from the time my mom would let me out of the yard by myself, basically. And by the time I was 13 years old, I was traveling all over the country with him. And
Wow.
I went to the Air Force to try and join because I told them I want to work on engines and weld and fabricate. And they're like, sorry, Charlie, no, Air Force isn't taking anybody. Go see the Marines or the Army. They'll take you right away. And I'm like, well, I really want to work with, motors or something. So I went to see the Navy, and bottom line, I did some testing with the Navy and scored really high on their mechanical aptitude, and I joined the Navy. and not to avoid Vietnam. And as it was, I didn't anyway, because I become a Navy CB, which is like combat engineer, and did tours over in Vietnam with the Navy.
Tell us about the story you told me with the band that you performed with there.
Well, I was a Navy CB, and we when we were in Vietnam, we found out one of our sister battalions that was also over there had outfitted a country and western band before they deployed to Vietnam, so they could provide entertainment for their troops and possibly others. And while we were over there, me and a couple other guys would get together in the warehouse at night, and with what little equipment we had, we would bang on it and make music and try and amuse ourselves. And I found out that battalion had been decommissioned, and they were sending them home, and we were able to procure all of their equipment. And we put together a pretty good band out of 4 members of Mobile Construction Battalion 62. And we played several shows all over Vietnam. Probably most memorable was a USO show at the
How many people were at that show?
You know, it's hard to say. It was at the foot of what they call Freedom Hill. And when we come out on stage, there was soldiers sitting as far up the mountain as I could see, and they're all sitting there with their weapons. And I can remember talking to one of my bandmates saying, I sure hope they like us.
I mean, we're talking thousands of servicemen.
It was Bob Hope USO show.
Yeah.
They had Miss America and Miss California, and that was another thing that was on our mind, because they had us on first, and I'm like, they're not here to see us. They're here to see Miss California, and they don't want to see our ugly ass up there. But we had a great show, and by about the 6th song, my knees stopped knocking.
That's a great story. And you also told me that band, for the most part, you guys still stay in contact, right?
On Facebook, probably a year ago, I caught up to one of the other guitar players. I played bass in that band as well, and the drummer, and we communicate via Facebook all the time. We have not been able to find our guitar player, Bill Montoya. Bill Montoya, if you're out there.
Bill, are you in the house?
If
Bill
you're
Montoya.
out there somewhere, please call.
Bill.
We tried to find him. The last name Montoya, I think he lived in Arizona, and there's like 8 zillion Montoyas live in Arizona. So,
and a couple of the guys got to see the Free Rent Band. Is that right? They came to see you guys?
Actually, that was our one and only roadie. Is one of our big fans. Drove from Ohio to see our show in the ice storm at Harrah's.
Yeah.
And Ron McCauley is his name. I hadn't seen him since we left Vietnam.
Wow,
53
that's awesome.
years ago. So
that is awesome.
But he's a big fan, and like
Very
say,
positive guy.
Loves our music.
Yeah.
And
that's awesome. Brian, I know just a little bit about you. First and foremost is your ability to play guitar. So when I got to see you at Knuckleheads last time, I hadn't seen you with the band when I saw them before. You'd recently joined, and boy, was I impressed.
Well, thank you.
Did a great job. And I know that those songs that these guys had out there for some time, you fit right in. Robert has filled me in a little bit about you have a building downtown that you've had for some time, right?
Sure.
That you own.
I have a recording
Tell us a little
studio.
about that. Yeah.
So, yeah, I have a building downtown. It has a recording studio in it, and that's where the Free Rent Band practiced and recorded it the last couple albums.
Last 2 albums, yeah. Since 2017, we've been in your basement.
Right, and so we met back when we started that, and those guys came in, different band members in the band than now, other than Hal and Robert here. So the band has grown, and I've witnessed the whole thing, and I'm the next to last member of the band. We just added some keyboards with Michelle, but I was the newest member when the other guitar player left after the most recent album. So I had been there to see the albums recorded and everything, and been with the band and, you know, saw how they did everything and was there alongside it. And what ended up happening is, as the band was rehearsing and stuff, I was sitting in a different room playing along with them, what I was hearing through the wall. And of course, it was very interesting because if you've ever done that, it's very strange because they stop and start and start in a different spot, and I'm not in the room, so I don't know what they're doing. I can't hear them talk or anything like that. So it's like they stop and I'm like, oh, I was just getting it. Because, you know, I'm not able to see them either, so I don't know what they're playing. I'm having to figure it out through the wall. But I enjoyed playing along with the stuff through the wall. And so ultimately, when the guitar player left, it was pretty obvious I was going to be the guy that should jump in there. And I knew all the music. I knew all the history of the last couple
albums. Did you guys know that he was playing?
I did.
No, I always thought he thought we should.
Let Steven tell you how this happened.
I don't want to run over Brian's time here, but he shared with me that he had been playing to the songs from his outside room, you know, and when we had the other guitar player depart, Robert and I were like, well, what are we going to do now? And, you know, we had the album recorded, but everything wasn't completed, and we wanted to do some shows. And I said, well, you know, Brian knows a lot of these songs. He's been playing along back in the room back there when we're playing. And Robert's like, really? And I go, yeah. And, you know, Brian here's got a pretty hefty background in playing Stevie Ray Vaughan-esque type of music, which we are not that. And so we were like, I wonder if he's going to fit. Yeah, and he really fit.
When Steven called me and he goes, look, we might have a solution. I go, and I'm like, fuck, what is it? And he goes, Brian knows our songs. I go, the fuck he does. He goes, Brian knows them. I go, really? Brian knows our songs? He does. Well, talk to Brian then, I guess.
So yeah, my Stevie Ray thing. I was a Stevie Ray band in Kansas City and around for many, many years.
Was that who you were with before Free Rent?
That was his last project.
Yeah,
yes.
Oh, okay.
Years before.
What was the name of the band?
It was called Brian St. John and Serious Trouble.
Serious Trouble.
And we were pretty well known around.
Great band.
I was the Stevie Ray guy in Kansas City.
Where were you playing?
Were you playing? We played everywhere. I mean, we never made it to like Harrah's or anything like that.
Well, did you get over to BB's and play for Lindsay?
I'd played at BB's before, and I also did a lot of jam stuff too, so I was known around town. When I started out too, because I wore a cowboy hat and played a Candy Red Strat and would go to all the jams, and people would see me get up on stage and be like, "Oh God, this guy's going to play country music," and I got up there and played more like Robert Cray and Stevie Ray and Clapton.
You didn't wear the poncho though,
because that's my experience. So like to fit into this band, I'm not just a Stevie Ray guy. I've been playing guitar for 45 years, you know. So playing the stuff that we're playing here, I fit right in because it's straightforward, kick-ass rock and roll music, and I'm a big Rush fan too. So my interests being varied is how I fit in with this band, and I don't sound like Stevie Ray in the band at all. So.
I was amazed. I thought it was wonderful when I saw it. I told Robert after the show. I mean, I was impressed. What about the studio? So are you recording other bands there? Or you just...
Well, the studio was a thing that I got into before I was in the building that I'm in now. I ran a recording studio that was really the front room of my house where all my gear was, and I used it as a way to have a very expensive hobby be something I could write off on my income taxes.
Like most of them.
And ultimately that led to having like a pretty real setup. And when I moved, then I decided, okay, I almost bought a church in Northeast to put the studio in. It was all lined up, and it fell through. Somebody bought the church before I could buy it, and it was unexpected. So that's how I got into the building I'm in now. I had to change directions. Turned out to be way better. I would have spent so much money on that church. But anyhow, so I have the building I'm in now, and we decided I went to Doug at Big Dudes, who any musicians would know who that is.
Kenworthy.
Doug Kenworthy. I went to him at Big Dudes, and I said, if I gave you this very large amount of money, would you build me a studio into the space that we've built? And I had a professional space built with all angular rooms and all that stuff, and glass and
Wow.
all
I want to
the
get
cool
there. I want to come
It's the
down and see
nicest
it.
studio I've ever been in.
It's pretty.
You want to come to
cool.
practice Wednesday?
It's downtown, right? Down by Sprint
Yeah.
Center or T-Mobile?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Robert was
You're
saying.
It's right
welcome
behind
to
the
come and
Truman.
visit. Yeah.
Come
Okay.
visit.
The venue, the
You're
Truman.
welcome
yeah,
to come and
absolutely.
visit. So it's pretty cool, and we've recorded some great stuff there. I've had, I don't know if you know who Danny Korchmar is, probably the most unfamous but famous guy you've ever. He played with Carole King and James Taylor. He's the guitar and co-wrote all the Don Henley stuff from the 80s. He's he plays with what are they called? The Immediate Family now, and that's Leland, the real famous bass
Leland
player,
Skyler.
Skyler. Yeah, we've had some great things happen at the studio, but mostly it has evolved into I do whatever the hell I want with it, and mostly that is the Free Rent Band now.
Oh, I love it.
And, we have had other people come in and, it's a full-blown recording studio. It's everything you need.
I will. I'll get down there.
Yeah, you should come down and check it out. It's beautiful. The one thing it's for sure is beautiful. It's the vibe is awesome.
Now,
For writing
do you
and
live in
such.
this building?
I do live in
Yeah.
the building. Yeah.
And so are you the only resident? Or
I am the only resident. I
Okay.
own the whole building, and there's a business upstairs called
Oh,
Rage KC where you come and break stuff. Rage-KC.com.
Oh, yeah.
This is the coolest man cave you've ever been into.
Yes.
Because you can destroy shit. You can play music. You can play video. He's got video games, foosball. He's got a cinema in this place.
Wow.
With a popcorn
pretty cool.
machine.
Wow.
The whole 9 yards. Yeah, it's pretty decked out, cool place.
I want to bust some shit up.
Yeah.
So that's, those guys had come in to record in the studio. And one of the things I do is I don't let anybody come in I don't want to listen to play. So,
I'm gonna reenact that day real quick. Okay, this is exactly ding dong. Yeah, we're here to check out your studio. All right, who sent you? Matt. Matt Allen. You know Matt Allen? I go, yeah. He recorded a project for us once. All right, I'll show you the studio. He shows us the house, shows us the studio. Then he goes, who's going to be recording here anyway? And I go, Hal and I. You two? Well, us and some other people. Oh, Matt sent you. I go, yeah, Matt sent us. All right, well, if Matt sent you, that's cool. All right, cool. So that's how that went. That's how that went. So,
I'm easy to get to
2017?
know.
huh?
Did you say 2017?
2017.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and the cool thing about Brian is that whenever you meet anyone, let alone Brian, the relationship has to be, I can't assume anything about you. You can't assume anything about me because we don't know anything about each other. And, that is part of the beautifulness that's happened all this time later in relationships before you intertwine music with them. We knew Brian, kind of like you knew Hal and knew me before today's interview. So what we haven't talked to is Steven and how we met Steven. And Steven can tell the story about Hal because that's how
Well,
they got here.
I guess, correct me, Hal, if I'm wrong. But so I own a motorcycle shop here in the Kansas City area.
What's the name of the shop?
And it's called Smithers Customs.
Where's it at?
It's in Olathe.
Okay.
And it's an old Kansas City road. Used to be a Pizza Hut building in old Olathe. And it's now a motorcycle shop for the past 23 years. I've been in there.
What's by that place?
Well,
Pizza Hut. Oh, I know where it's at.
it's Olathe North High School.
Sure. Okay.
Down the street.
Yeah. Off Kansas City Road.
Yeah, on Old Kansas City Road. Yeah, right
Gotcha.
there. And Hal was a customer, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
For his-
I'm also a
for his
retired
crotch rocket.
Yeah, crotch rocket bikes. I'm a retired professional drag racer. Raced the IDBA, the AMA drag racing series.
You like to go fast.
For 30 plus years as a motorcycle racer, and I somehow Hal intertwines into this because he worked at Shawnee Cycle. One of the specialties I work on at my shop is a Suzuki Hayabusa motorcycle. Which is like one of the fastest that's ever been produced. Hal happens to own one.
Yes, I
And,
know.
I think his son has one as well. And I've worked on both of them multiple times.
I've asked him to build a ramp.
So, out of the clear blue sky, I've been in bands. I started playing as a kid, like all of us.
Kansas City?
Yeah. I'm from Overland Park. And not classically trained like Brian here. I'm a knock down, drag 'em out type of player that figured it out. And
those are good players too.
Well, you know, I don't have anything clouding my brain of somebody telling me what to do. I just kind of do it, and they tell me, I did take some lessons, and they said, oh, you're shaping your chords incorrectly. And I'm like, I don't care. That's the way I do it, you know? And so, and that was a long time ago, you know, but, anyway, Hal here, was in my shop one time, and, I had taken about, let's say 20-year hiatus, from playing music at all.
Why?
I strictly concentrated on racing motorcycles. Okay. I didn't have time to sit down and practice and this and that. And I hate to say, but I kind of lost interest. I was just super hyper-focused on the motorcycle thing and my business.
How long have you been playing music prior to laying off?
Well, you know, probably from the time I was in 5th grade up to about,
a long time.
Yeah, probably all through high school and for a few years after high school. And that's when I got into racing heavily, when I was in my early 20s. And
that even costs more money.
It does. So you got to work really hard to make the money so you can go blow it, right?
Yeah, indeed.
But long story short, I got reinterested in playing again about, I'm going to say about 8 years ago. And I was doing some jam nights. A couple local guys have a party at their house. And I would go over there once a month and do a jam night with them. And that's where I met Michelle, our current keyboard player,
Michelle Cox.
And that jam night turned into a band, and then that didn't work out, and that turned into another band that was called Kansas City. Don't know if you ever heard of that, but we were coming in strong right there at the end of COVID.
Who else was in it?
Well, John Levy is the drummer. Hunter Burrell, which he moved back to Mississippi. He was the lead front man. Myself, Michelle Cox, who played keyboards. Brooke Kafka, which is with multiple bands around Kansas City. She was our sax player. And then Ed was our bass player. And he is with the ZZ Top tribute band now. It's not local.
KCZZ.
What's that?
Yeah, I think it's KCZZ, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that. KCZZ or and then he was also one of the founders of the BOD, Better Off Dead, Grateful Dead tribute band.
Oh yeah,
which he's no longer playing with them. But that was our group, and our front man Hunter was in Kansas City for 4 years to become a chiropractor at Cleveland Chiropractic College, and when he graduated, he went back home. So Kansas City dispersed. And about that exact time that was happening, Hal just happened to be in my motorcycle shop getting one of his...
What year are we in?
This is about 3 years ago.
3 years ago. Yeah. And Hal said he saw I had a couple guitars hanging on the workbench at my shop with an amp up there. And I, you know, with today's technology, I just run it through and do backing tracks through my computer. And I've got a little sound system in there, and I'll pick up my guitar and jam to backing tracks just to learn some new stuff or whatever, an hour a day. At the shop sometimes, right? And Hal goes, I didn't know you played guitar. And I said, I really don't. I just kind of try, you know. And he was like, oh, well. And then he did his research, and I think they came out and heard us play. And he said, hey, would you be interested in possibly joining a band or, you know, come out and try it out and see what you think? And he gave me a CD, I think the Speakeasy or Head in the Clouds.
Head in the Clouds album.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to tell you, multiple years before this, he actually was in the shop getting his bike worked on. He said, hey, I'm in a band, and it was Speakeasy. It was right when that was new, and you guys had just got your CD stamped out, whatever, and it was not on my radar. And to be quite honest with you, when he gave me the CD, I was like, oh, that's cool, and I put it in my drawer at the shop, and I never even listened to it because it wasn't on my radar. I wasn't even playing guitar at the time. I was like, oh, that's cool. I was just so hyper-focused on other things, and I feel bad about looking back on it now. But now it's like, I look back, man, that album's full of great songs. I think we need to redo a couple of them and re-release them because they're awesome. But, yeah. So I went over and played with them, and Robert had to actually, he was out of town at a vacation for a couple weeks.
I was at scout camp, Boy Scout camp.
Yeah, Boy Scout thing or something. And, but I got with the other, at the time, guitar player, and Hal already knew I could play.
It was
And-
kind of like the Slash commercial. He got up and you're in.
Yeah, how
Right,
come?
yeah. And he just had to make sure the other guitar player guy approved, and I didn't want to step on any toes, and I just wanted to kind of be the FNG that kind of hung back, you know.
Now, were you doing lead and bass at the time as well?
Yeah, I was just playing lead guitar in Kansas City. You know, the singer Hunter
Cover tunes.
It's a cover band. It was a jam type of band. We did some you know, some Grateful Dead was a big thing that Hunter liked, and then a lot of older
Me too.
country tunes, and you know, even some Led Zeppelin and you know.
Well, it's interesting.
on tour
I mean,
with
I've seen it before on another band that I knew years ago, but you know, during the set with the Free Rent Band, you and Hal will actually change the go from. I think when I saw you, you started out and you were on bass, and then I don't know, after the first set, maybe you guys changed around or something.
We got 4 songs.
Yeah, there's 4 songs that Hal plays guitar on.
There's songs that Hal wrote, and he I mean, the way he plays them, the sound that he has, it is very unique for that song. And as long as he can play them, why, you know, I mean, why not?
Well, what I saw from you, Steve, when you know, you're having fun out there, so obviously the passion came back in the music for you.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, you're having fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
yeah, I have a blast doing it. If it isn't fun, why do it, right?
Amen.
And I mean, that's why I'm here. And
But he's also super serious, man. I mean, he wants the sound to be right. He wants the shit to be plugged in correct.
you know, the
And he wants you
drummer
to
of
act like
Kansas
you-
City, John Levy, if he hears this, I'll quote him, but I don't want to use the exact language he said, but he said, Smithers, he said, you are the most intense mother, you know what, I've ever met in my life. And you probably wouldn't know it from today, but, you know.
I would not.
Steven stopped me
actually.
in the middle of a conversation. This is what he said to me. He goes, I want you to know I'm serious. I'm serious about music. Do you understand me?
Were you smiling when you said it?
No, it was on the phone. He said to me, and I was like, fuck, all right. Okay.
Well,
you're
he
serious.
was taking something a little bit lightly, and I was just trying to get my point across.
Drive it home.
You know, when they asked me to, when they said, okay, yeah, you're good enough, we think you'd be a good addition
Well, Hal
to the
called me
band.
before you came in. Hal called me and he says, I'm going to bring in this guy. His name's Steven. He plays guitar. He's going to be good for us. He might be here when you get back.
Well, you know,
I said, if he's good and everyone likes him, yeah, I want to meet him. So
they had another
attaboy,
good
Hal.
guitar player, right? And this was a combination, I think, of some unrest that was going on with the other player, and they kind of, I think, already knew that in the future they needed another player, even though they probably didn't need me.
Rock and roll band, right?
Right,
So-
right.
Yeah,
and
we
this
tiptoed around it.
this album was just getting ready to be released. There was still a few songs that needed to be recorded, so I did play on all of the songs, but 2, I think.
yeah, 2 songs you didn't play.
on the Driver album,
Yeah.
and you know, I always say long story short, and it always goes longer than short. But long story short, the other guitar player ended up not working out, and it didn't take long for that to happen. Actually, I think we did 1 or 2 shows.
We did 1 show after the release.
and then here, you know, and to be quite honest, prior to him leaving, I was the new guy, so I was just trying to not get involved in any drama or anything. I was just trying to be everybody's friend.
When did you join the band?
2 years ago or so.
Yeah. 2.5 years ago.
The COVID time.
Just after.
Right after
Just
COVID.
Right after.
Okay.
Because when we did our first show that I was with the band, things were opened back up.
At Voodoo?
Yeah, that was at Knuckleheads.
No, it was in Knuckleheads. The outdoor show
that's
at
right.
Knuckleheads.
That's right.
Did we do the Long Fest, the private party prior
We
to
did.
that?
No, we've only done that 1 time.
That was after that?
That was after that.
Okay.
We played in the rain.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. We did play in the rain.
We did, and I
Yeah.
got to tell you, people, there was a few hundred people there that night. Even this is a private event. We're talking about a long fest. And by the way, for those of you just joining us, we want to welcome you back to Kansas City Limits. We're in the studio today with the Free Rent Band. But we were just talking with members of the band, Steven Smithers. that particular gig, the Long Fest or Long
Yeah, that's what he calls it, Long Fest. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a private party. We got invited to go play. We go play in the rain. These are friends of Stevens, contacts of Stevens. And the guy came up just at the KC, this place we were at here just about 2 months ago. He came out of nowhere and he said, "You're with the Free Rent Band." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "You guys played in the rain." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Would you come back this year and play again?" I go, "Well, who are you?" And it was that guy.
Right.
Oh, well, that's
Doug
right.
Long.
Yeah.
Doug
We
Long,
talked
yeah.
about that because you were on right before Casey Bones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we had Casey Bones in here interviewing them.
So Doug, the guy that organizes this Long Fest,
Sure.
he's a drummer, and he used to be a drummer for a Grateful Dead tribute band here in Kansas
That's
City
right.
called Toe Jam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so he's buddies with all of the Grateful Dead people that not only fans, followers,
Harv and Billy
players,
and-
all the
yeah.
jam band guys. And I mean, so that's what this. It's a
He
big
was
outdoor,
actually
Very
integral
supportive.
in putting the Dead at the K as well.
Yeah,
Him
yeah.
and Billy worked hard to get that put together. So, yeah.
Yeah,
It's an awesome event.
It's fun to play at. Yeah.
We were just excited. I was. That's what you aim for: is someone to remember you for pulling through and doing what you said you do.
Right.
And and that's always kind of been the way I've tried to conduct myself.
We
with people.
brought it. We brought it in the rain that
We
day.
brought it in the rain.
We kicked him right in the
The only thing I didn't want to
happen.
happen is I didn't want anyone to get electrocuted from the rain and the amps and the power and the stages and everything.
Right.
So if you remember, I was as far away off to the left side as I could be from that stage until we had to take it.
He was real concerned for us.
I was like, "You guys get on first, tiptoe around those
I
power
don't play an
outlets.
instrument.
Hal gave him a metal rod. Here, hold this.
Plug that in." I wanted to touch base on someone that is not the two people. We've talked about
Yes,
Michelle
please.
a little bit and her wealth of talent.
go right into
Tell
that.
us a little bit more about Michelle, and then let's talk about Larry.
Well, Michelle, I met her, like I said, with a band that we had a
Before
long
the
time-
Kansas City thing.
Before Kansas City, yeah. And then I noticed her extreme amount of talent with multiple everything. She can play just about any
She touches
instrument.
a kazoo.
And if
one
she
of those
doesn't
savant
play it,
types.
and you tell her she can't play it, she probably will be playing it in 2 weeks, and better than
She
you
is
can.
very talented.
Just saying. So anything she focuses, I think, herself on, music-wise or anything else for that matter, she could be good at it.
She was a recent add to the band,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
This past year, correct?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she reached out to me. Some time went by, and kind of lost contact with her after the Kansas City thing, and after I joined this group, and the reason why I joined this group, I didn't want to go into another cover band and play the same old things that we grew up playing, even though it's fun. You want to play like your idols, you know what I mean, and play those songs, and it's fun to do that. But to be in a band and grind away every week or do all these cover tunes and playing, that's not where I wanted to be with my time that I have in my life to play music. And so when these guys came along and said, we want no covers, period. I've even tried to talk them into doing a couple, and they said no. I mean,
It's been
almost
anarchy,
argument
no covers.
level, no covers. And
It's
I'm like,
working
well, and so Michelle saw what we were doing. She heard our stuff.
because she plays in a lot of
And
covers.
she plays in a lot of cover bands, and she reached out and said, "Hey, do you think you have a spot for me?" And I go, "I know we have a spot for you, but do you think you will be a fit? And can you adhere to what we're doing?" And
Can you compose on the spot?
then she said she'd like to try it out. And I mean, I sent her the material she needed, and she showed up, and boom, she had the songs down, and she just played.
Same
was
thing
just-
with her
and
too. You
it
can
was just
catch her
that extra
vibe from
last
the get-go.
little bit.
She's smiling, she's jumping, she's happy to
Yep.
be there. She
We haven't,
brings a lot.
so she's doing keyboards, and she's doing keyboards with us and backup vocals.
I didn't get to hear her do vocals the night I
She's
saw
got a
you guys.
voice like an angel. You'll hear some more. Yeah.
She's
I've seen her. I
slowly
just saw
working
her.
into. She doesn't want to take too much over, but we want her to.
That's
But
a
it
good
helps
thing.
that
I
and,
mean,
and so
she's
I'm like,
pitch
hey,
perfect. Perfect.
So I just give her she's got a little iPad, and I'll scratch it down on a piece of paper, and she'll take a picture of that, and I'll go, these are the words of the backup vocals to the chorus, and the next thing you know, boom, there she is. She's singing
she
with us.
sings songs from two of my favorite all-time musicians, and that's saying something. And I've heard her sing beautifully Jerry Garcia tunes that him and Hunter wrote. And then I just got to see her here a few weeks ago with the Bob Seger tribute band over
she
at
was
Aztec.
filling in for Brooke.
Oh my gosh! And she is just, I mean,
she sings a couple Stevie Nicks songs too that are
pretty incredible.
But she's a good ad. All right, well, let's talk about the drummer, Larry.
Larry, my God, what an asset! And he fell right out of heaven to us. He it's another nine people to Hal Kaysen story, because Hal knew someone that knew someone that knew someone that knew that we were doing original music, that we had just lost our drummer. Here's the story about, I was so frustrated with drummers, I was about ready to make a T-shirt on the front and the back, and it said, "I need a drummer." You know, it just...
I knew your last drummer.
Yeah? Keith?
No.
Oh, yeah, the other one.
Spencer for
How many
He's a
drummers
great
have you
guy.
had? I'm curious.
Hold on, I've had 9 guitar players.
I thought I was like 11 and he
No,
was
I've
12.
had 1, 2, 3, 4. I've had 4 or 5 drummers. And Hal got rid of a couple of those, so it's not all my fault. You
Did
know
he
what
kick
I'm saying?
their ass, or did he just...
Yeah.
No,
Did he, like,
actually on a Monday, on
knuckle
Memorial
sandwich?
Day weekend, 2 weeks in advance, we all said we're going to practice on Memorial Day, a Monday. We all have families. This dude calls us. "I'm with my sister, man. I'm just not going to make it. You know, it's a holiday." And the next day, you know, Hal goes, "Tell him he's gone."
That's not exactly the story.
It was close enough. Go ahead. Tell us your version.
I happened that weekend to be up on a lake, Manzingo.
Well, you did come down.
Up north with
Yes.
all of my friends.
Yes, you did.
Fishing with the boat. And they usually have the big fish fry and the big event on the
You
last
gave it up
day.
to come practice.
I gave it up to come back, practice with you marvelous people. We all assembled. We
All
got
assembled.
ready. The guitars
We're
were
sober.
tuned up. We were ready to go. And where is the drummer? The drummer is not here. He's messing with his sister.
For the story purposes, we'll call him Dwayne.
We call him ex-drummer.
He came to the house
probably can.
the next day, this
Nick's
drummer
freaking
Dwayne,
good, man.
and he goes, "Really? I'm out of the band just like that? I'm out of the band?" And I was like, I couldn't take any more conversation, so I said, "Envision this. We are now famous. We're in Morocco, getting ready to play in front of 100,000 people. And you are upstairs having a parfait dinner, and you can't make it." That was the message you sent. He was like, "Oh."
Worse than anything, though, he was with his sister. If he said, "I'm with some hot-ass blonde," or something, it'd have been like,
I don't know.
"Dude, send us the pictures."
That's
He said-
completely understand.
But the fact he was with his sister, that's a little, maybe that was for the best.
And we were all trying to get a hold of him. But anyway, back to Larry Nanny. So
Yes.
Larry Nanny has played with the best. Larry Nanny has played in the Led Zeppelin cover tunes. He's currently in a group called Turkey Bone. He toured and played with Michael Jackson in 1994. He's had the opportunity to play with multiple blues artists throughout Kansas City and all the way through Kentucky. And when he found us, because we had a lot of drummers, and we had a couple of drummers that were new and fresh that were learning as we were learning the songs. And then we had some drummers that were, you know, everything has to be charted. Where the hell are you going? The song shouldn't be like that. And then we get Larry, and you never know what you're going to have till you have it. But I'll tell you the best thing about Larry is he's a believer in what you're doing. He is the most articulated drummer I've ever met. If you were going to do some sort of jazz hand poet work in the bottom of a basement somewhere and there was nothing more than Larry and his drum set, he could drum out every syllable, word, or thought and expression with his cymbals and kick and his snares based on what you're saying and how you're singing. And because of that, he's taken these songs that would have just been ordinary songs and given them life, given them breaks, given them moments. And, you know, sometimes the advice he'll give us, we'll stare at a band and go, "What the hell was that?" And then after we get done, we're like, "That fit. That was good. That was a great suggestion." So he can't be with us here today, but he
has a great stage presence. He knows what's going on stage. In fact, I got to see him last week with Turkey Bone, and I've seen it before actually, where he puts those cymbals way up high, you know, to where he's tapping them, you know, up high.
He wants to show you he's got deodorant on.
But with Turkey Bone, right, you know, he's always talking to the crowd, or, you know, so playing in with that, it's sometimes difficult, right? Because you're not just setting up a song, you know, because all of a sudden he'll just break out a song and start talking to a waitress right there, you know, as he did when he was at BB's. But yeah, he's a talented drummer.
Oh, very musical drummer.
He likes to set arrangements too. When we're playing and we're coming up with our new songs and doing stuff, he's like, wait a minute. He's like, you know, he wants to be the organizer of some things and move things around. And I got to tell you, you know, when he first started doing it, I doubted his ability. And I'm like, you know, shaking my head going, okay, what's going on? Why don't we just play the song? But after I actually listened to him, the guy really knows what he's doing. And I've got all the respect in the world for his, he's got such a soft touch, or he can beat the crap out of him either way. And he knows when he's just probably the best drummer I've ever played with. For
you guys
sure.
have a great ensemble on the stage now. And what I see,
we have a real band.
It is going to be exciting to have you guys on the Kansas City Limits. Again, we are here today with the Free Rent Band, Robert Bierce, Hal Kaysen, Brian St. John, and Steve Smithers from Olathe.
And we're missing Michelle Cox and Larry Nanny. Yeah.
And they will be with you when you guys are on Kansas City Limits, right?
Yep. We'll have the full thing August 22nd at Knuckleheads during the Kansas City Limits availability. There are still a few tickets available.
Yes, there are. And why don't we take that this moment and tell people how they can find the Free Rent Band?
So you can find the Free Rent Band, Spotify, Disco Kid, Apple, iTunes, anywhere music is downloaded, you can find it. And again, you know, although those are great songs, we're proud about all the work we put into them, because there was people that spent hundreds of hours on them. And, you know, the fact of the matter is, the version of the Free Rent Band that we have now is the best version we've ever had. And it's the most put together version of these songs. And it's like, if you like what you hear and you go, oh, that's good, don't do anything. Kind of, you know, keep your mind open to the fact we've added a couple more vocals, an exceptionally awesome lead guitar player, another guitar player and a rhythm guitar player, and we've added a piano player, and we've had the same backbone since I put this thing together. So
that would be you and Hal.
With me and Hal. And so, you know, you're going to come for an experience. Our show is a storytelling show. We're not here to tell you anything other than a feeling or emotion that everyone probably in the room's experienced at some time. And so you get to own that song as your own. And that's what, you know, kind of the Free Rent's about. Because once we get in your head, baby, it's free rent.
Nicely done.
Check us out, and we appreciate you. Like us on Facebook. Remember, be good to yourself, be good to others, and be good to musicians. Thanks for listening to Kansas City Limits Radio.
Amen.
I thank God for bad dreams, abrupt departures and broken strings, and things that folks say that they don't mean. Neither their words or their actions have explained their life's reactions to a few so tried and true. Oh, my good friend, I believe your ego got away from you. Must have been a good friend, stopping by every now and then. Must have been a good friend, never holding any love to send. Now, didn't I? Didn't I? Didn't I? And the music will still go on long after It's a shame how good friends end up in sad songs, and with the strum of a guitar, lies doubts won't take you far. Learning how to fly again must have been a good friend, stopping by every now and then. Must have been a good friend, never holding any love to send. Now, didn't I? I thank God most of all for helping me bend when I did fall, and picked me up once again. Help me weed through the bad ones and help me find the good ones. Oh Lord, you've been a fine, good friend. Must have been a good friend, stopping by every now and then. Must have been a good friend, never holding any love to send. Now, didn't I? Didn't I? Didn't I? Didn't I? Didn't I? Didn't
Thank you. There you go.
down the street, the lady down the street, the lady. I'm asking you not to mistreat the lady. No, 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 no. I command you, sit down just for a minute. I command you, take back your life and what's missing in it. I command you, do anything that's good for the living. I command you, live a life like you've been forgiven. I command you, I command you. Down the street, the lady. Down the street, the lady. I'm asking you not to mistreat the lady. No, 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 no. I command you, sit down just for a minute. I command you, take back your life and what's missing in it. I command you, do anything that's good for the living. I command you, live a life like you've been forgiven. I command you, command it. Sit down just for a minute. I command you, take back your life and what's missing in it. I command you, do anything that's good for the living. I command Live a life like you've been forgiven. I command you. I command you. Command it. I command you, sit down just for a minute. I command you, take back your life and what's missing in it. I command you, do anything that's good for the living. I command you, live a life like you've been forgiven. I command you, I command you, command it. I command you, sit down just for a minute. I command you, take back your life and what's missing in it. I command you, do anything that's good for the living. I command you, live a life like you've been forgiven. I command you, I command you, I command you. Don't mistreat the lady. Thank you.